Thank you for joining us today, Pranesh. And congratulations on a successful launch. I believe yesterday went very smoothly, launching PeeringReach into the market. Yeah. And I suppose there's a lot of activity that will take place around the new solution. There's obviously a big drive to connect the regional South Africa, and very curious to learn from you about where PeeringReach fits in that bigger picture.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for that, Lexi.
So for anyone that has not been super close to this process, can you just explain to us what PeeringReach is at a high level?
Lexi, I think it comes down to, so if you look at where we are on the African continent, we have roughly active 58 INCSs on the continent across 36 countries. And PeeringReach is part of the ecosystem of the internet.
Yeah.
So what PeeringReach is trying to do is enhance that ecosystem from a product and a pricing perspective.
You know, that makes me think of perhaps like a part two to this question. What does actually change for an ISP, say, sitting in Mthatha or in Colesberg?
So what you'll find is in INCSs globally, the INCSs tend to be in the larger metros, because by and large, that's where the sort of major connectivity hubs are. What we're trying to solve with this particular product is the ability then to take that peering capability in a cost-effective way to the smaller regions within the country. And we won't just do this in South Africa, we'll try to do it in other operating regions that we are in as well.
What was, I suppose, the trigger for the team to get around the table and actually start building this out?
Well, just looking at it, so I hold many hats in the industry, and just listening to people in the industry, cost is a majorly prohibitive factor in the industry for people to get from the smaller towns into the large hubs. So what this does is it changes that dynamic. The second dynamic that was driving this forward was the fact that if you looked at previous connectivity, the smaller regions didn't really have fixed broadband connectivity. By and large, it was mobile connectivity. And if you look at that mobile connectivity, what it did was it landed in the larger metros anyway. So you didn't have to have these national links to get from the smaller metros into the peering hubs. With the increase in fixed broadband into the smaller regions, we're now starting to see a localization of traffic. And that localization of traffic is what's driving the ability to have, I suppose, connectivity in those areas that then allows us to localize traffic in that area, or rather bring that traffic to the local peers in the larger metros.
Why is it important to deliver this over layer 2 circuit as opposed to a different technology?
We've deliberately kept it at layer 2 because by and large, that's the circuit sort of that we run in the country. And layer 2 gives those service providers flexibility. For one, you can upgrade and downgrade the bandwidth. The interface costs for layer 2 are far cheaper than anything else. And it allows you then to have one link into the network, but then terminate that at multiple points. So if we take layer 2 and we run VLANs on this network, we can then have one link into, and I'll go back to the example of the Mthatha node. You can have one link into the Mthatha POP, but you can terminate that in Johannesburg, and you can take a VLAN and terminate that in Cape Town. So you have one link that solves two problems for you.
And an obvious pushback I imagine the market might react would be, NAP Africa peering is free. Why should I pay Seacom?
So NAP Africa peering is free, I agree. But the capacity or the bandwidth to get to a NAP Africa peering point isn't free. So someone, as in your previous example, someone in Mthatha needs to run a line from Mthatha through to Johannesburg or Cape Town to access NAP Africa.
Well, it's been apparent this side of 2026 that, the product team have been super diligent and very busy working on a host of different projects. What are some of the things that we can get excited about from the team?
So, PeeringReach is one of the newer products. What you'll see in the subsequent products that we launch as well is utilizing our assets and infrastructure to, I suppose the best way to describe it is flatten the network and remove those physical or distance barriers that people have to access information. So that's what you'll see as the theme coming out for the future products. And by and large, you'll find not just on the South African network or the African continent network, but the global network. Seacom has reach into the major information nodes across the globe. And we're going to utilize that footprint to allow the countries that we operate in Africa to get access to that information in a fairly seamless way, as well as something that is scalable and elastic at a bandwidth level and is cost effective for those individuals or those service providers to be able to do that.
Pranesh, thanks again for popping by Blue Mike. Based on the activities from the team, we are so looking forward to what the team has for the rest of the year.